These are the kind of scenes that we're seeing. So I posted a video a day ago and I received over 1 million views. There's a lot of fake news out there. There's a lot of videos circulating that were shot years ago, and they're playing it as if it was current situation. What's going on behind me is the absolute truth. This thing stemmed with the whole Zuma trial and spread across the country, and in short has turned into just this mass looting, destruction of property. You know, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic and we now have to deal with this. Look, I've seen a lot of people coming on board, a lot of people helping out with charity, communities banding together, standing to protect their homes and their families. What you're seeing here is just a piece of what's going on.
When the only constant in life is change, you need to be ready. This is the Man-Made Survival Show.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Jose Prado, Man-Made Survival. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel and watching this video. This is the second part of this two-part video that I'm doing about what happened with the inflation, or what is happening with the inflation in the United States. How all the other countries are also struggling. They're going to have shortages if they're not experiencing them already. And how all of the inflation and how everything can be offset by your preparedness, but also other organizations like cartels and other people can take advantage of the situation to have influence in your own community. So that is the reason why you have to step up and be a leader in your community. If something like is happening in South Africa happens in the United States. And this is exactly what we're going to be getting into now. As I introduced this video, you saw the destruction that has been happening in South Africa. And right now it's about 10 days from the first day that it started. And a lot of people do not understand that could happen anywhere at any time. And it doesn't take very long before you have to make the decision whether you're going to stay where you are or you're going to bug out. Because, one of the perceptions there is in the prepper community is that if things get really bad, then people are going to bug out into the woods, right? That's what they're getting ready for. Some of the members in the prepper community think that as soon as something like that happens, like it's happening in South Africa, they're just going to go to the woods and stay there indefinitely. But a lot of people are finding that that's not the case. People will want to stay and fight for what they have, right? Is there a total collapse in South Africa? Not yet. It's turning into a kind of like a civil war type scenario, but all that can escalate and continue to be something that becomes a greater crisis within the next few hours, days, and weeks, and maybe even months. Who knows? Maybe suddenly dies down now that the military is involved. Maybe it gets a lot worse because now the military is involved. So we're going to have to look at it closely and see what's going on, but nobody can actually deny that it has become a war zone. So that is the reason why we have to look at what's happening there, look at the data. We have to compare that to our preps right now and see what are the steps that we have to adjust in our own preparedness. And, one of the things that I'm going to be doing in this particular podcast is two things. One, I'm going to prove to you that everything that I've been teaching you in this podcast for the past year and a half is actually correct. And I'm not doing it to pat myself in the back or anything like that, but I want you to see that I'm not wasting your time. The other thing is that there's about 1,000 new listeners to this podcast who I'm introducing to the 14 categories. And this is the best way that I can do it, because now we have, real life scenarios, or not scenarios, real life data, real life events, there we go, to where we can actually look at this information and compare it to the 14 categories that I've been teaching you. All right. And so we got to get into this. I'm hoping that I don't take too long and that I don't bore you too much with all of this, which I hope I don't, because all of this information is extremely important. There's going to be some videos, some audio clips and everything like that. Most of those you can find at Zero Hedge and the most important news.com. But the most of the videos that I'm getting from is from an article, which the title is South Africa Army Activates All Reserve Members Amid Worsening Social Unrest. You can look for that title on Zero Hedge and you're going to be able to see all the videos that I'm showing you right now. Or, not right now, but throughout the podcast. So I would really encourage you not only to stay all the way to the end so you can look at all 14 categories and how they have a role in all of this, but also share this information with your friends and family all throughout your social media. Because, you know, one of the things that I'm doing with this community of preppers is that we're going to do great things. We're going to take the prepper community and take it to levels that have never been experienced before, that nobody has ever heard of. And, you know, the mission for this particular community of preppers under the Amendment Survival Flag is the following mission: to redefine and restore the prepper reputation, to create a community of well-prepared, selfless individuals around the world, and become a refuge for the unprepared, not politically motivated, but all united under Jesus Christ. And I want to go ahead and go through that real quick for the new members, and a refreshment for the members that have been here for the past year and a half. So to redefine and restore the prepper reputation means that since we have been made fun of for a very long time by the mainstream media, by the government, you know, by the general public, and in some instances, even the alternative media, I want to restore it, and I want to redefine it, because we're going to be doing great things, as I mentioned a minute ago. And all of those are going to gain the respect back that is where it's due. Okay, because one of the things that we have seen in all of these disasters, which includes South Africa, is that all of those would be, how would I say it? They would be better managed if the entire population of the world had some type of preparedness in the society, you know, where not everybody relied on the system 100%. So that is the goal of this. The next line is to create a community of well-prepared, selfless individuals around the world and become a refuge for the unprepared. And I mean, let's face it, one of the things that will happen is that even when people see the crisis at their own doorstep, once that crisis gets resolved, they will not lift a finger to get prepared. Okay? And those are the people who are going to suffer time after time as the crisis come along. So we are going to be there for them and help them out, even if they don't help themselves. The reason I want to do that is because, for one, they're people, and two, you know, I'm a Christian, so I want to further the gospel as much as I can, even though I'm very sinful myself. But that is the goal here, because, you know, we want to be compassionate. But not only are we going to be compassionate, we're going to teach people to be able to feed themselves with their own two hands. So we want to be a refuge for them when crap hits the fan. Now, we're not politically motivated, but all united under Jesus Christ. You know, I just mentioned about being a Christian. So that is the goal on that. But not politically motivated. The reason I say that is because I don't really care whether you're on the left, you're on the right. You have to be prepared. You got to feed your family. And whatever crisis happens, you want to survive it. But not only that, not only do you want to survive the initial thing that happens, but also you want to have the tools to be able to readjust your life during and after, because it's not going to be the same. What's happening in South Africa will never be the same. You know, for those people who have first taken out their weapons and threatened people with it, maybe for the first time in their life, it's something that's going to stick with them for the rest of their life, even if it never happens again. But, you know, at that point, it doesn't really matter whether you're on the left or on the right. You want to have your family protected, all right? So that is what I mean, or that's what the mission of this community of preppers under the Amendment Survival Flag has as a mission. So let's go ahead and get into the 14 categories, all right? So I'm going to describe them to you really briefly, or actually I'm going to go through the 14, you know, what they are, and then I'm going to go one by one, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to compare, I'm going to prove to you that all 14 categories have a role to play in all of this. All right, so first is alliance, then plan, food, water, energy, medicine, tactical, communication, wilderness survival, bug out bag, bug out location, bug out vehicle, hygiene, and clothing. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first one, which is alliance. All right, I'm going to play for you a video, and you're going to understand why having your alliance is the very first thing that you have to take care of before anything else. All right, so here's that video.
I'm Dr. Kevin Naidu. I'm from Reservoir Hills, Durban. We have been manning this area for the last 3 days and 3 nights, in order to protect our residents from any further looting, any further violence against them, and any damages to property and life. We've been here, some of us have been sleeping only 2 hours, an hour, coming back, taking turns to go and rest and come back. We have lost our mall. We've lost some of our other supermarkets in this area due to protesting, due to looting. All we have left now is our residential homes. We will continue to man this here 24/7. We are still awaiting assistance from our military, from our SAPs, from our metro. They have been coming to check on us, but they are very thin on the ground, which we understand. So we as citizens are trying to do the best that we can in order to protect our people. We have a lot of old people in this area, so all us able-bodied guys are here. And some of us have stopped our normal jobs, our essential jobs, in order to assist here. Whoever's watching this here, this is the current situation in South Africa, and it's a bleak situation, and we still hold on to that hope that somebody is going to come and assist us and to help us to gain control of this year again.
All right, so that video is really important because your alliance is going to be the very first thing, the most important thing that you will do once you start planning your survival, your preparedness, whatever. And the reason that alliance is number one is because from that point on, you can actually understand and see who you can actually depend on. Who's going to be there for you when crap hits the fan. What circle of people are going to take care of themselves and the community at large when something like that happens. All right, and you want to have that established before anything major happens. You don't want to find out whether or not you can trust someone as crap is hitting the fan. You want to have that well established. And not only that, those people will know exactly what their role is going to be from that point on. Okay, so when you're getting ready to have an alliance established, for you and your family and whoever else, the easiest way to go about it is that you first start with you and your spouse. And then you look at your family, your extended family. For example, your spouse, you go with mom, dad, siblings, and then their children, and then cousins, aunts, uncles, and everything. All right. And then on your side of the family, you do the same. And also you add friends to that, their family as well. And very quickly, you're going to find out that you're going to have a big list. But from that big list, you can actually divide those people into 3 categories. 1, the responsible adults that you think you can trust on. The unreliable adults, which they will not do anything. And 3 would be the children or the disabled adults. Because, they have a sickness or some type of medical problem. So you want to put them there, They might be your brothers or it may be your spouse's nephew who has a mental illness. So you put them on there even though they're an adult, right? So anyways, so with the people who you think you can trust, you can bring them in and you can have a meeting and say, this is what I'm doing. I'm starting a prepper group and I want you to be part of it because I believe that you guys are responsible. Your finances are in order. You don't have any addictions. You're doing the right things in life. So I would like you to prepare with me. And then from there, you're going to get to reactions. You're going to get people who are going to say, yes, I want to be part of it. And people who are going to deny you. All right. When those people deny you, you can tell them, all right, on the spot. You can say, all right, you have the right to deny this. But just know when crap hits the fan and you come back here, I'm not gonna make you go away, but you will not have any type of say-so in this entire group. All right. So if you do come back when crap hits the fan, just know that you're going to be a worker that's going to help the entire group survive and thrive and, be better off. Okay. So you let them know that that's what is exactly going to happen if they deny your offer. And then you go from there. Let's say from all siblings and friends and family and everything else, from all the people you listed, let's say you get 14 people or 12 people. All right. You can divide the other 12 categories into everybody, and everybody gets a specific one, and they become experts in that field. And then when crap hits the fan, everybody comes together, and then everybody teaches everybody else everything that they have learned. And then from there, the entire colony is going to thrive. It's going to be better off than if you try to figure out what you want to do and what efforts you're going to focus on in your own preparedness. Because one of the things that we have actually seen in the prepper community that does not translate into the real world is that people think that it's just going to be them, their spouse, and their children. And that may not work in South Africa. It has not so far. All right, the first thing that happened is that militias formed out of nowhere. Communities that started to have volunteers, I guess you could say, so they can patrol the area. That way there's no harm coming their way. So it's not just going to be you and your spouse, right? So one of the things that I just remember is that one of the things that I teach you here is that we don't want to have just opinions, from whoever, even including me. What we want is science. We want science-backed foundations in everything that we do in our preparedness. That way, it's not just a matter of opinion, but things that would actually work. And that is one of them that I just mentioned, where people think it's going to be just them, their spouse, and their children against the entire world, when reality says otherwise. Okay? So number 2 is your plan. And after you actually find out who's going to be in your alliance, who are going to be responsible, who are going to take on the work to actually become experts on whatever it is that they agree to be part of, you have the plan on how you're going to protect the community, how you're going to protect your land. One of the things that has happened in South Africa is that plans were made on the spot. Once people started freaking out, they saw that people were looting houses there, and then they started creating communities or militias to be able to protect everybody. They started coming up with a plan on the spot, right? And that's where you come in as a leader in the community. You have the experience of preparedness, you have the culture of preparedness, so you more than likely you're going to have a plan already established. So that plan, the security plan, can be shared with the rest of the community. That way there's a more intelligent way to protect everyone. All right, and there's more able bodies, there's more resources being shared, there's more resources being obtained, and for however long all of that lasts, the entire community is going to be a lot stronger than if you try to do everything by yourself in your own property. All right, so that would be the plan, or one of the things to plan, but also includes how much food you're going to have, how much water you're going to need, how many guns you're going to need, how much ammo you're going to need, how many communications, how many radios, all that stuff that's included in the plan, and you go one by one in the categories, and then you find out exactly what you're going to do. And all of this, I talk about it in the book that I wrote. It's still in the process of being printed, but when I have one available, I will let you know. And all that in the 14 categories, or I go into detail on all 14 categories. That way you know exactly what to do. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the next one, which is food. Food is going to be the most important thing that you're going to have, that you need to have at hand. All right, and the next soundbite really shows and proves with scientific backing that you actually need to have a stocked up food, but not only that, a way to replenish yourself. All right, just listen to this, and I'll be back to discuss even further.
Update for you folks, just so you know, there is no food in KZN. Just so you can understand what that means, Rainbow Chickens has had every chicken that they own stolen from them. There will be no chickens, there will be no eggs. Farms are already being attacked now. This is civil war, basically. We're totally unprepared, and the aim of the game, from the Zulu side of the viewpoint, is to starve us out. So, look after the bit of food that you do have, because that is all that you have. All that you have. There is no more coming.
All right, so that clip right there is going to be one of the most important clips that I'm going to be showing you this entire podcast, because it goes to show that's the proof that you need to know that you need at the very least 2 years worth of food to store up in your house. That way you can feed yourself and your alliance. Okay, and I'm not talking about, just scraping by. I'm talking about full meals. If you do it right now, you're going to be able to have the infrastructure in place to be able to feed everyone without having to count calories, without having to think what can be stored best for the longest, okay? Because your farm is going to have the cycle going already, and, you know, just putting food on the ground is going to be a routine. It's not going to be something new for you. Now, the reason that you need at least 2 years is because you want to give yourself at least 2 growing seasons, all right? So now let's think about this from what you heard on the soundbite. The farms are being attacked. The commercial farms are being attacked. All right. So the fields are being lit. So all that food is going to be lost. And not only that, they stole all the chickens and all the eggs. Right. And I'm pretty sure they're talking about commercial production, not like a local farm for their family. So we're talking about the food infrastructure for the country, or at least for that area. So what is it going to look like in the next few weeks, in the next few months, when they realize that they destroyed the infrastructure? That it's going to take, at the very least, 12 months for the farmers to put food on the ground again, because right now is winter in South Africa. Their spring comes around in October. So they're 2 months away to be able to put anything in the ground. Okay. And by the way, their winter is similar to Alabama, to where in the winter, you know, it gets down to in the 20s and 30s. And during the day, it's 50s, 60s, or, you know, even lower, depending on the day. But the point is that they do have a cold winter where they can't grow anything. So when spring comes around in October, you know, it's going to take 60 to 90 days, depending on the crop. And then they're going to have to harvest it, send it to get it, you know, packed, and then to the grocery stores. All of that can take a long time. And, you know, now you're adding the stress of food shortages on a situation where there's already almost a civil war. So more than likely, it's going to take longer than that. So for you, for the prepper, all right, you're going to have the infrastructure in place in your own house, in your own bug out location, where you can grow your own food, you can house your own animals. This is exactly the same thing that I've been saying, you know, this entire time I've been doing the podcast. And this, what's happening in South Africa, proves it to be right, okay? And you have to make sure that you have the means to water everyone. You know, your crops, your animals, and your alliance. All right. And the article that I have for you confirms what the soundbite said. And let's go ahead and read it. This from BBC.com, and it says, South Africa looting. I'm struggling to find food. Leading a comfortable life in South Africa's coastal city of Durban, John, not his real name, risks running out of food for the first time ever following the mass looting and burning of supermarkets and shops after protest over the imprisonment of former President Jacob Zuma spiraled out of control. Quote, middle-class people like me now face shortages. On Tuesday, I could not get bread and milk until I became aware through a neighborhood WhatsApp group of a community organization giving it out. I went to their hall and we had to queue. And each person was given 2 loaves of bread and 1 liter of milk. I don't know where they got the stock from, but they gave out 8,000 loaves. Today, Wednesday, they don't have any. All right, so that particular part of that article is really important because, for one, it confirms what the clip said, right, the soundbite. But here's the other thing. The organizers, you know, that suddenly popped up, they had 8,000 loaves of bread. So they gave it to 4,000 people, right? You know, 2 loaves each, so 4,000. But that only lasted 1 day. What are people going to do after that? All right. That is the reason why you need to have your own food stocked up. But not only that, you're also going to have to resupply yourself. Because remember, if you only rely on what you stocked up, you just pretty much dragging out the time where you yourself becomes a marauder, or you yourself become a marauder. Okay, so you want to have a plan and infrastructure and the animals and everything in place for you to be able to resupply yourself and your alliance. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is water. As of June 2021, the province's Nelson Mandela Bay is experiencing record low water shortages. Day 0, the day when the province's municipal water supply is expected to run out, could be approaching sooner than expected, as many cities in the province have been experiencing serious water shortages since 2015. And, you want to have, and one of the things that I've been teaching here also, for the new people, is that you need to have in your bug out location water running through it 24/7. Surface water running through it. But not only that, you also need to have a well. You also need to have a pond. You need to have a rain catchment system, and you need to stock up on bottled water, because you don't just want to have one thing. You want to have multiple, especially when it comes to water, because, just so you can understand how much water you use, just look at your bill that you pay every month. It gives you the chart there, how much you've used throughout the month. And if your bill don't show that, you can actually talk to your water company and they can send you the report. That way you can understand what your water consumption is. And you want to have all these things in place so you can resupply yourself, or not resupply, so you can hydrate yourself, you can hydrate your plants, and you can hydrate your animals and your lands. So you want to make sure that you have that ready, okay? The next thing is energy. And what you're seeing on your screen is a screenshot of a electrical power plant have been set on fire. And that is the second infrastructure that has been attacked. The first one was the farms, now is the power plants. And of course, it's going to be rolling blackouts, or it's going to be completely out. The point is that you're going to have your prep in place. And really, you only need two things in your entire household that you would say that is critical, okay? Because you don't really need to watch TV. You don't really need your internet as much as you're going to need your refrigerator and your stove. And both of those can have alternatives. For your refrigeration, you can have a root cellar that is going to be dark enough and cool enough to preserve your food longer time than if you didn't have one. All right, that's gonna be the alternative. Of course, the refrigerator does its job wonderful. It makes food last a lot longer. It preserves it for a longer time than your root cellar would. But that's the other alternative. For your stove, there's different things that you can do to cook outside, and those are really the only two things that you need in your house for electricity. Now, if you have some type of health devices or anything like that, then of course you're gonna need electricity for that too. But the point is that don't think about it too much. Don't try to run your entire house off the grid as if there was a grid. All right, it's possible to do it, but you're gonna spend a lot of money. And if you don't have enough solar panels, if you don't have enough battery storage, or if you suddenly start consuming too much, then it's not gonna work out. So there has to be a good balance there. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is medical. And this is another part of the same article that I read a minute ago, and it says some of the big pharmaceutical chains have been looted or are closed. I went to a small pharmacy that's still open. I queued for 3 hours to get medication. Baby food and nappies are in huge demand, John said. All right, so this is the reason why that one is important, for several factors. All right, for one, you're going to need your medicine. And if it's at all possible, you need to find out if there's an alternative, a natural alternative to whatever condition it is that you have for the time being when something like this is happening. I'm not telling you to completely replace it. What I'm saying is that if something like this happened in South Africa, happens in the United States, and you're running out of medicine, or you only have 30-day supply of medicine, then you need to talk to your doctor to see what else you can do. They all want to talk to you about it. I mean, they might look at you funny at first, but they might give you some advice, okay? And so don't be afraid to ask. Now, here's the other aspect of the entire medical thing. People have been shot. Over 70 people have already died in South Africa in the past 10 days from gunshot wounds and other things. So you're going to have to know, or somebody in your group, one of the responsible adults, one of the managers, they're going to have to know how to patch gunshot wounds, which is exactly going to be the first thing that people are going to want to learn, because when things get dangerous or they become chaotic, people bring out their guns, like I'm going to be showing you here in just a minute, and, people get blown away, or at least they get, hit in the arm, hit on the leg, maybe a site that is non-lethal. But if you don't know how to stop the bleeding, you don't know how to, patch it up or anything like that, then the person's going to bleed out and they're going to die. When if someone in the group had enough knowledge, enough training, they could have stopped that death. All right. And what is happening in South Africa is that hospitals are not only being raided, but they're also being burnt down to the ground, which, of course, that's another critical infrastructure that is being hit. That's the third one. And finally, or not finally, excuse me, the next one is tactical. Now, I have a clip that I need to share with you, which is about 40 seconds long, but pay really close attention because it's extremely important. All right, here it is.
No flash, it's ongoing now. They're trying to come over the bridge at Umkomaas. Oaks are shooting the shit out of the Oaks. They're running out of fucking ammunition, and there are thousands of them. They're now coming over the bridge at Scotborough literally 5 minutes ago. They're going to take over Scotborough. They want to know why Scotborough is not burning. They're going to burn down Scotborough tonight. There's not enough people. There's not enough police. There's big shit, and nobody can help. As they're coming down from Mandawi on the main road to cross the Scotborough Highway Bridge. Plenty of them. It is absolutely full, jam-packed. Fall back to lines and get ready to defend.
All right, really, really important because the police are put in a position where they have run out of ammo. They have run out of ammo. This is the reason why it's important for you to stock up as much as you can. Okay, people do not realize how much ammo can be used in a firefight. It can be thousands of rounds, especially if the battle is intense. Okay, and if you don't have the proper training, you're only going to waste bullets. Now, what you're seeing on your screen is a video, all right? And I'm going to be going through it, watching it with you. It's only about a minute long. But look, you see here 7 people on the screen right now, okay? And they are all shooting towards the protesters across, all right? And what you're about to see is that guy shoot the shotgun shell. But remember, shotgun shells do not go that far. And what it looked like he's fitting into the shotgun is a bird shot. So it's not going to get very far, all right? And the other people are also shooting, but they're not hitting anyone. So you need training. Now, here's the other thing that I need to point out. If you're going to be doing the same thing that they're doing, you have to go in a line because the guy that's at the very front, he can suddenly go right, and the guy that's shooting the shotgun could, hit that guy and have friendly fire. So this is why it's important for you to train. And one of the things that you have to look at is that no one is taking cover. Everybody's just advancing, wasting rounds. And you don't want to do that. All right. You want to make sure that you're intelligent in how you're going to be shooting your guns, especially if you're low on ammo or, you have very low amounts of ammo. And I said low if you have 10,000 or less. That's low on ammo. And here's the thing. If you're in your own property and you have 1,000 people coming towards you, and it's only you and your spouse, they're going to run you over very, very quickly because, you only have, let's just say 30 rounds a minute going, towards the protesters, and they're going to run you and your wife over. That's or you and your spouse, that's if your spouse knows how to shoot. That is the reason why you want an alliance, because you want to have, another 10, 20, 40 people shooting towards the protesters, or the people who are going to be invading your property. And, you're going to have a better chance to get them off. Not only that, you're going to have people who have to reload the magazines and people who will run or will do ammo runs, okay? Because if you don't, you're going to run out of that ammo. You're going to be in the middle of the field and you're going to have to retreat and you're probably going to get shot in the back, all right? And this is the other thing that I've been teaching you in this podcast, that everybody in the alliance needs to have the same weapon. Because like you've seen in that video, all right, let's say one of them runs out of ammo. What is he going to do? Nothing. Now he has an expensive paperweight that has no ammo for. But if everybody in that group, those 7 people who were on the screen, they all had the same ammo, the same gun, they could all share the same magazines, and they would be more effective against the looters and the rioters and everybody else. Now, this next clip that I need to show you, it shows that people will create militias out of nowhere, spontaneously. And you want to avoid being part of that. But if you can, put yourself in a position where you can be the first one to create it. Because otherwise, another person who, let's just say, could become power hungry becomes a danger to everybody else. All right, that's exactly what you don't want. And since you're a prepper, you have knowledge of this. You want to become the leader in all of that and establish tactical positions and everything else, so everybody in the community is protected. Now, this is exactly what you're seeing on your screen right now is what could happen if crap hits the fan and you're still in the city. All right, as you're seeing, the militias, they're going towards the people, towards the looters, and they're shooting them in the street. All right, and just remember, crap might have hit the fan for a little while. That doesn't mean that the police will not investigate later on. So do not put yourself in a position that will make you go to prison for the rest of your life. All right, especially if your life is not being threatened, and especially if you're not in your own property. If you are in the street like these people are, more than likely, if there's ever justice being served again, you will more than likely end up in prison. This next video that you're seeing is how they're just beating those people up, and mob rule pretty much becomes the law of the land, and you don't want to find yourself on the wrong end of that. Now, this is for the people who really think that they're going to bug out into the woods at the last minute, or they're going to bug out to their bug out location at the last minute, right? You want to make sure that your timing is right when you're going to leave, right? Don't stay till the 10th day and then decide that you're going to go, especially if there's already militias forming all around you. All right, from that same article that I read to you a minute ago, this next piece comes from there, and just pay attention to it, all right? It says, he does not need much fuel at the moment, though, as it is not safe to travel outside his suburb. Furthermore, some adjacent suburbs have been blocked off by residents who have formed neighborhood watch groups, or what local media calls defense squads, to prevent invasions. They don't allow any non-resident in, not even during the day. So even if I wanted to, I can't take a drive there to look for groceries. In his suburb, the neighborhood patrol operates only at night. He has joined it, along with about 25 other men. Quote, some have guns, most of us just carry sticks, pipes, and torches. I never thought I'll ever do this, but we have no choice. There are no police, no soldiers, he said. We block all intersections with our cars. Some of us will stand there, others will do foot patrols. If we get suspicious of someone, we'll tell them to leave, and we've had a few instances of unregistered cars we suspect they had come to survey our area to plan an attack, John said. All right, so you have to make sure that you leave your area at a good time. Don't wait for the last minute for you to go. Otherwise, you may not even be able to make it out of there, because maybe they will let you out of your suburb, but that doesn't mean that the next neighborhood will. All right, and you're just gonna put yourself, your family, into a dangerous situation. So that is the reason why you have to make sure that you assess the situation in time, and then you decide when to go into your bug out location. And if you're the bug out location that your entire alliance is coming to, then they have to make the choice and be able to bring everything that they have, stocked up on, learn, whatever, to the bug out location. All right, so here's one of the sketches that I wrote out for the book. I have to get it digitized, but just so you can get an idea of what is in the book, here is one of the setups that I tell you that you should have in your bug out location. Okay, and I describe it as follows. All right, so the number one, as you see in there, it says woods. All right, that's your perimeter. That should be the safe area where people who are passing by can get around. All right, because the surrounding woods may be owned by someone else, but once they get to your fence or they get to your area, you can inform them that if they're not a threat, that they can go around peacefully, no questions asked. The second area would be the repeal zone, which would be non-lethal. There can be several ways. You can throw rocks, you can shoot rubber bullets, you can have your dogs there, barking, and you threaten them that you're gonna release them if they don't leave. And then the third one is the lethal. All right, the next zone is the lethal zone, And those are the determined people who are there to invade your bug out location. Now that's when you start shooting. All right. And if there's a lot of them, if they get to the 4th zone, then everybody, all hands on deck, not just the tactical team, not just the people who have been training, but everybody, all the able bodies. And, at the same time, when that's happening, another group of people, and really the person who is in charge of the wilderness survival, they're the ones who need to start gathering the women and children and start, leaving the area as fast as they can, while the tactical team and everybody else, they defend the area, hopefully successfully. Now, what you're seeing on there, is kind of like a layout. In the middle, the squares are the housing units for the alliance, and the triangle in the middle would be the command and control center. And then you see your livestock area, your crops, your nut trees, fruit trees. And then the circle and the diamond is two different things. The circle is actually the watch station or tower, if you're able to put any out. And in the same area, you have a canine patrol, which of course they're going to be your first line of defense, and they're going to be able to tell you when, something is not right. All right, so that is one of the sketches that I put on the book that I really do believe that it's going to benefit you. All right, so I really encourage you to get it once it's available. All right, number 8 is communications. All right, and here's the soundbite, because that soundbite is going to be one of the more important ones, because once the government gets involved, or the military in this case, then you can bet your bottom dollar that all communications, as far as cell phones and other things are concerned, are going to be taken over and or disconnected, including the power. All right. So that is one of the tactics of the military. When they go into an area that they're trying to control, they'll cut off all the electricity and they'll cut off all the communications. And of course, they're going to establish the martial law to where they have curfews and roadblocks and everything else. All right. And they might come in and actually disperse the spontaneous militia that came out. All right. So let's go ahead and listen to that video, but pay very close attention. Here it is.
Army has just been deployed now. The SPA group has actually made that happen. So yeah, Army has been deployed, and civilians, the police have put a thing out to say, armed civilians, please come and assist all areas, and yeah, shoot to kill basically. So yeah, at least everyone is doing something, hey?
All right, so the reason that one is important is because once the military gets involved, all right, if you're the good guy, you need to listen. Otherwise, they're going to shoot you and kill you, okay? And, of course, you don't want to let them know everything that you have, because if they have the orders to go, door to door or house to house to pretty much confiscate all the food and water because, they're telling them to, then you want to make it as peaceful as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have the full weight of the U.S. military on your shoulders, and that's exactly what you want to avoid, right? And so that on that aspect, you cannot get accurate advice, because we don't really know how the Army would react. That would be something that would have to be assessed in the moment. All right, so you're going to have your communication established. Remember, not only ham radio to communicate with the entire area or, other parts of the country to see what's going on there, to see if there's people coming your way, all right, and to prepare accordingly. But also you're going to need walkie-talkies. Like, one of the things that you did not see with any of those militia members is that no one had communications, no one, or at least I didn't spot any, okay? And of course, we're not including the police in this. We're talking about the spontaneous militias or, defense groups that popped up. And it's going to be necessary for all those people to have communication established, because otherwise something can be happening on this side of the perimeter that they cannot see because they're on the other side, and they can't get to it, or they can't get to it fast enough, or they don't even know what's going on. And next thing they know, those houses have already been attacked or looted, or, Molotov cocktails have been thrown at them. So that's why communication is really important not only for the community, but also for your alliance. Okay, now number 9 is wilderness training. Now this is where I make this question for all of you who think you're gonna escape. Will you bug out on foot into the wilderness? So let's put you in the position of many South Africans right now. Will you bug out on foot, or would you stay to protect your home? All right, because let's be honest. These people are not preppers, so they're protecting their home. Is that what you would do? All right, so now let's talk about this. All right, this perspective. If you live in the city, if you live in the suburbs, and then you have bug out location out, in the rural area, will you be leaving everything behind to be there? All right, because remember, now that you left your home alone, people can get in it and steal everything that's in it, which can include delicate documents like birth certificates, social security numbers, whatever. And they will take everything else, TVs, books, whatever you think is valuable. Are you willing to do that? I hope you do. But do not wait for the last minute to where now your entire area is being overrun by a higher firepower and you have nowhere to go. Or if you do leave, now you have people chasing you into the wilderness. Okay. The next one is bug out bag, which of course it goes with wilderness training. You're going to have a bug out bag for everybody in your family, or actually in the alliance, okay? Including children. Theirs is going to be different than the adults, but the point is that everybody knows how to use it and the essential items in them to be able to find each other if for whatever reason the group splits up. Bug out vehicle, that is going to be one of the essential things that you're going to have in order to get out of there before the conflict gets as big as it has in South Africa. The next one is bug out location. You want to have your bug out location ready to go for everything. You want to have your fruit trees ready, your nut trees ready, your crops where they're going to be. You want that soil to be ready, your livestock as well. You want to have, your water running through it. You want to have your rain catchment system already in place. You want it to be set up to where as soon as you get there, you can survive the rest of your life there. Okay. Hygiene, with the stores being closed and actually burned down and looted, if you don't have a way to shower, a way to have mouth hygiene and everything else that has to do with it, then you're going to be more susceptible to disease, okay? Especially if you don't have a way to have mouth hygiene and a way to have a shower. Because one of the things that we've seen in Venezuela and other poor countries is that hygiene is the first thing that goes out the window, all right? Because there's no access to soap, no access to toothbrushes or toothpaste, and therefore, as time goes on, your teeth start decaying, your skin starts to become cracked and brittle and everything else as it's getting used to the dirt and everything else. And then, you can start having allergic reactions, or you can start having, sunburn and everything like that. So you want to have your hygiene products in place, your hygiene routine in place. So when something like is happening in South Africa happens here, you don't have to worry about that too much. And of course, you want to make sure that the person who is responsible for hygiene, they have enough stocked up for everyone, but they also know how to create more soap, more toothpaste, toothbrushes and stuff like that. And the last but not least is clothing. Okay, now think about this. The malls have been burned and everything has been looted. How long will it take for all that to be replenished by the stores? We don't know. But the point is that you need to have enough shoes for everybody in the alliance. You need to have enough cold weather clothing for the alliance, because we saw what happened in Texas. You can freeze to death. Okay, if it gets really hot, then you can only get so naked. Okay, but there's the two extremes: extremely hot, extremely cold. With extremely hot, you there's nothing you can do, or nothing much that you can do as far as clothing is concerned. With extreme cold, you have shoes, socks, all your other clothing. So those are the two extremes, and you're already used to somewhere in between. So that's where you have to get prepared for one of the other two extremes, or both, but more preferably cold, because you need to buy more things with it. All right, so that is the 14 categories. And as I have proved to you this entire time, they all have something to do with your preparedness. They all play a role. And what is happening in South Africa, if it turns even deadlier, it becomes a civil war, then if you already have all of these in place, when something like that happens, you're going to be better off than everybody else is around you, right? And it proves that that the police officers said that they were not prepared for that, and there's even police over there looting as well, because they don't have anything either. But anyways, the point is that you're going to be better off than everyone else. And if you're able to be a community leader when something like this happens, you're going to be able to establish farms for it, or not farms, but, garden for everybody else. They're going to be able to start growing their own food. You're going to have enough seeds, but the point is that they would not rely on you to be able to feed them. They're going to be able to rely on themselves, and especially if spring is just around the corner, right? But just think, right? Everybody in that area has something in their pantry. It may last them a few days, but if there's a chef in your alliance, then that chef will have to learn how to make a lot of food for a lot of people, right? For a long period of time, and make sure that nothing gets wasted. But the point is that you can have everything established right now, or work towards it. That way, when something like this happens, like this happened in South Africa, you will be prepared, your area will be prepared, and everybody around you will benefit because of you. All right, so I want to end this podcast with this last video. And it should really not surprise you, but it makes me kind of angry. All right, so let's first watch that video, and then I'll come back and give my closing remarks. Here it is.
Democrats believe the $3.5 trillion would provide enough money to cover all of the president's priorities. It would address climate change. A source tells me that includes tax incentives for clean energy and vehicles, and to create a civilian climate corps. It also has funding for universal pre-K and paid family leave. It adds dental, vision, and hearing benefits to Medicare, and extends the child tax credit.
This is only the first step in a long road we will have to travel and must travel. But we are going to get this done because we so fervently believe that we must make average American lives a whole lot better.
Now, progressives have embraced the proposal. Senator Elizabeth Warren called it a strong step forward, while moderates held their fire.
They've worked hard on it, and we want to see it. And also, I've been very clear that I want to see the pay-fors and make sure that whatever we do is going to be globally competitive.
Now, Democrats insist the $3.5 trillion will be fully paid for. A source tells me they plan to offset the cost through a combination of higher taxes on the wealthy and corporations, savings on health care, and economic growth. Meanwhile, that bipartisan agreement on hard infrastructure like roads and bridges, it's still getting tweaked. And the number 2 Republican in the Senate, John Thune, he cautioned that Democrats' massive spending bill could undermine support for that more modest bipartisan measure. Yet President Biden is still committed to that two-track strategy, even if some Republicans are predicting a political collision course instead.
Elon, thank you.
All right, so now let's think about this. They're talking about $3.5 trillion, and if they pass this, the unofficial debt is going to be north of $35 trillion, because right now they keep saying it's only 28.5, but they have not added any of the stimulus, okay? And in South Africa, they have had food shortages, water shortages, COVID lockdowns, economic woes, and the arrest of the president was pretty much the last thing that happened before everybody snapped and they started looting and robbing and everything that we have seen so far. All right. Here in the United States, it may be a different trigger, but more than likely it's going to be the same end result, or probably even worse, because having guns in South Africa sounds like it's not that common. Here, they're everywhere. All right, especially if you're in the South. So what can we really expect here in our future? It may not be the arrest of President Trump, because they keep trying to find something. And if that happens, maybe there will be people rioting. Maybe there will be people doing something about it. Maybe not. Maybe BLM gets crazy and they go looting again and everything else. And maybe they have an opposition that creates, a type of civil war. I don't see that happening because it didn't happen last year. But what I really do see happening is finally this economy in the United States implodes to the level that we have never seen before, where we have hyperinflation and everything goes to crap. On the previous podcast, we talked about inflation, but it's not really hurting people's pockets yet. Hyperinflation will. Another $3.5 trillion will make the inflation even worse. Eventually, it'll get to the point where people are no longer confident in the dollar as the world reserve currency, and we're gonna go into hyperinflation. Remember, the banks have already confessed that we're gonna have transitory hyperinflation. Again, our trigger will be different than everybody else around the world. Our trigger is going to be different than South Africa's. But once it actually gets triggered, it's going to be, in my opinion, more deadly and more devastating than it has happened over there. Because our powder keg has been brewing for a very long time. All right, it has been ready to blow up for a very long time. And when it finally does, it's going to be something that we've never seen before. So you have to be ready. If you are a prepper that just started, you just got a very detailed explanation of all 14 categories and how they play a role. If you've been preparing for 5, 10, 15 years, as I have read on Reddit, right, then if you have not had any of these categories taken care of, then you need to hurry up and do so. Because, what I'm doing with this podcast, what I'm doing with this community of preppers is that I'm going through all the opinions that we see out there and pretty much getting rid of the ones that are ridiculous, and we're focusing on the ones that are backed by science, by actual events. They're not just opinion based, but they have evidence behind them. And that's exactly how it should be for everyone. So I really do encourage you to share this podcast with your friends and family all throughout your social media. Hopefully the 14 categories didn't, feel like I was dragging it out too much and you got bored and then you didn't listen to it. If you have to, go section by section, but do get the information because it's really important, okay? That is what's going to set the future for you and your family, your alliance, your community. All right, so let's go ahead and get that ready. Let's go ahead and start advancing this community of preppers because, again, we're going to do great things here. We're going to see things coming out of this community that have never been seen before, and we're going to really reestablish and redefine our reputation. All right, so again, my name is Jose Prado, and remember, always ready.
The Man-Made Survival Show.